Aloha, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Phoenix Friday. And today, my special guest is Mahara Wayman, and she has just created a new book out there. It is available on Amazon, you guys, and this is Essential Insights to Living Your Best Life. So, I'm going to allow you guys all to say hello to Mahara in just a few minutes. I want to read her bio for you. So here we go, guys. My scroll is not working correctly. Alrighty. So Mahara Wayman is a published author, motivational speaker, and mastery method coach. She is passionate about helping women create their best life through her writing, an online group program, and one-on-one coaching. She began her journey of discovery on the island of Jamaica. The youngest of four children, she pranced in the rain with imaginary friends, ran around with harmless lizards, I love lizards, and decided lollipops were the best way to end a tough day. Her backdrop has changed over the years. She was living in England and Japan, and today she calls Canada home and prefers to end her day with a rich merlot. She is proof it's possible to have a good life but still yearn for more. When she left her corporate world, she took control and rewrote her story from the inside out, creating her best badass life. Now she uses her knowledge, voice, and powerful techniques to help her clients do the same. She is currently on the board of Empowering Women Entrepreneurs. So, all you entrepreneurs out there, listen up to today's show. And her debut book, again, is Essential Insights to Living Your Best Life. And it's now available on Amazon. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for sharing your time, your energy, your wisdom with my community and getting to know them. As most of you guys know, I am in the Hay House Writers community, and this is where Mahara and I met. So thank you for sharing your time and energy with us. Can you just introduce yourself to, something more than just the bio? The bio is powerful, but who are we talking to right now?
Oh my goodness. First of all, thank you. I feel so honored and blessed to be sharing this platform with you. And I can't thank you enough. I'm going to get all choked up. And hi to all you, to everyone that's joining in. Who am I outside of that bio? You know what? I'd like to think that I'm kind of just like you. I'm a mom, a daughter, a friend. I screw up. I learn a lot. Um, Oh my God, I love ice cream so much. My husband and I used to choose where we would rent houses based on the walking distance to the nearest Dairy Queen. I am not even kidding you. So, ice cream and sweets play a real part in my life. I love to laugh, sometimes more than anything else. So, I can be found watching brilliant, comedy on TV instead of doing the laundry. So, that's me.
I love that. I love that. One, we have a lot in common. I love to laugh. I just had a show. Poor Nikki. Nikki's in the background, guys. Say hi to Nick. Um, we just had a show Tuesday, and I laughed through the whole show. I had this guy that came through and just raised my vibration so much that all I could do was laugh. And we got through the show, but it was hilarious. And you know what? It was perfect. It was
I
perfect.
love
You
that.
know,
I love that.
the laundry can wait. Laughter is important. I'm also the youngest of four children.
Ah.
I live on an island, and I love ice cream. Ice cream was my first job. I was my first job was at Baskin Robbins, so I know my ice cream.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
um, so there's always two questions that I ask my guests. So we're going to start off with that. And, I'd love to move into your book because I really want to debut that. Um, so, first off, I know you have a very personal connection with the Phoenix. And I always ask, what is it that you feel really ignited the Phoenix in you? During your life's journey, what was it that you just felt so ignited and passionate about that you just took off as a Phoenix?
Well, that's such a great question, by the way. I recall, I think the turning point for me, I have lived a journey of spiritual discovery for the last 35 years, really. Ever since I was a teenager, I began asking questions. But it really wasn't until only about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, that I glimpsed in me behavior that I didn't like. And that was sort of the beginning of my wake up call. And what happened was I was a workaholic, doing very well in the corporate world. And I was sitting on my couch with my daughter beside me. At night, we were watching TV together, but I was working as well. And my daughter and I were having this great conversation watching this funny show. And a text came through or an email came through. And I turned away from my daughter to work on the computer. And she had the guts to call me out on it. And she was just a teenager. And she put her hands on her hips and she said, Mom, I can't believe you did that to me. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I'm sitting here beside you. This is our time. What's so important? And she was upset, but she wasn't crying or anything. She's like really very curious. And all of a sudden, I just felt a heaviness in my heart when I realized that I had chosen, you know, my work over my child at 9 o'clock at night. Right. And I was shamed. She didn't mean to shame me, but I felt shame because I thought, what am I doing? I've worked so hard to create this beautiful relationship with my children. And here I am putting, someone else's dream ahead of theirs or ahead of mine. So that was when I said, that's it. I got to start looking at my world a little differently. And I had, up until that point, put so much energy into my job, thinking that's what I needed to do, that it was a big wake up call to start to think differently and ask myself, okay, what do I need to do for myself and for my children and my family, rather than putting my work first. So that was the beginning, I would say.
I love that. I love that your daughter had enough empowerment to express her needs in that moment. And you had enough self confidence to be open to that signal from her, to really
Yeah.
dive deep into it. Well, yeah, what am I doing? It's like pause, sacred pause
Mhm.
in a moment, and really feeling through that. I admire that. I love that you have an open relationship in that communication. Communication is such a powerful tool for us, both listening and speaking. Um, and so now, how do you use your gifts, your tools, your being a phoenix to help ignite the phoenix in others?
Such a great question again. One of the simplest things that I learned that is also sometimes the most difficult thing to do is to just listen. And I have cultivated they call it active listening skills, but I really think that's one of the things that every single person can do with another human being, is to give them the grace of listening to them. And it's more than just staying silent, it's being connected, it's allowing yourself to be connected to that person without an agenda. And sometimes it can take work, right? Because we walk into a conversation full of judgments. Oh my God, you should be thinking this. I'm your mother. You should be doing it this way, right? Rather than, hey, I see you. What's going
Right.
on? I see.
Exactly. Those. I would. I've done the active listening courses, and it is a skill. It is a skill, and you need to be aware. Like, yes, I'm listening to you, but then I pick up something. You know, no, don't do that. Allow yourself to be present in the conversation. And I know that you are a motivational speaker. And so part of that speaking is also knowing who you're speaking with and knowing your audience. Um, when someone comes to you and asks you for support, some type of counseling, they are, say they're struggling with entrepreneurship, you know, what would be the first question you would ask them in order to get a feel for where your listening skills are going to be taking you and how you can support them?
The first thing I do with any client or potential client is I say to them, awesome, what's going on? And I just invite them to tell me in their own words. I don't want to put words in their mouth. For example, I don't say, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that you're miserable. What's making you so mad?" For example, right? I may see it in their face. I may see or feel the emotion, but I don't want to. I don't want to put words in their mouth. So I'll just say, "So what's going on? How did you hear of me?" A few different things. How did you hear of me? If it's not obvious, if I'm not in a networking room, for example. Um, but the first thing is I encourage them to just share whatever is on their mind. Um, Another thing that often works well is asking them, what were they hoping for? And it's interesting that many times they don't have an answer. They only know what they don't want. So that helps me to understand that I can really support them in defining their vision, right? I can, so that they can see beyond the problem, right?
I love that. And of course, we want to talk about this book. You know, I know you have sections in this book where you ask them questions to help them dig deeper. You know, you ask them, you give them journaling prompts. But I also really like, and I'm asking this because I like to go deeper. So I noticed that in your book, you offer an opportunity for an additional workbook to go with your book. What inspired you to add that addition to the material that you already have in your book?
Well, it's interesting. When I decided to do what I'm doing, I jumped in with both feet and I didn't know a damn thing. I literally didn't know what Instagram was. And my youngest daughter said, "You're an embarrassment, mom. You don't know what IG is?" And I'm like, "Come on, cut me some slack. I'm on Facebook, aren't I?" So there was a lot that I didn't know. And I jumped in and learned and I did this course and this free workbook and this, and I just did all of these things. And one of the things that I really appreciated having, especially when I was trying to learn something new, was a downloadable and a fillable workbook. So I wanted that for my clients as well, just because I thought it was a good thing to have in your hand, right? Or to have it digitally. And I didn't want to make the book big enough for people to write in it. I don't write in books. I put my name or dedication, but I don't like to physically write in books. I think it's sacrilege. But I wanted people to have the opportunity to have a life-size version, digital, or they could print it, workbook of what they saw in the book. So yeah.
I love that you said that because I was actually struggling with that in my book
Mm,
because I personally cannot get myself to write in a book because the author has put their soul into this book. It does feel like I'm dishonoring the book itself. I love books. And at the same time, I'm like, but I also want them to be able to have that access right there in the moment. So I've been playing around with that, but I love that you mentioned that because I do have an area in the book that I've written for that journaling experience.
nice.
Um, but that was a really hard decision for me to put that in there. But I wanted it to be now. If I had gotten my own book and it had that journal, I still wouldn't write in the book. I would still have my side journal. But
Yeah.
some people might write in books. I do know some people that do write in books. So there's There's options there, you know. So your book is called Essential Insights to Living Your Best Life.
Yes.
You have several chapters in there. I do have the book, guys. You guys got to get the book. And don't forget, write the reviews. The reviews are so, so important, you guys. If anybody is going to read a review, it's going to be a reader of books. So if anybody is looking for a book, they will check out the reviews. How does it make you feel? How has it empowered your life? Does this book change you in a more positive way? Express this because we have to support our authors. We have to support those that are sharing that light, that are being the lighthouse. So please, 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 you guys, if you're going to take the time to empower yourself, also take the time to be a lighthouse yourself and shine the light on the works that you feel are worth reading. Okay. So just having put that out there. Yes, thank you, Janet. Janet, she's she's a beautiful person. She's a beautiful lighthouse. So if you were to, going back to your book, if you were to pick two chapters, one chapter being your most favorite chapter in the world, and then the second chapter being the most important chapter for a reader. So this is like two different perspectives, one personal and one consumer. I'm going to mute because I have a lot of background and noise. And
Look
noise.
at me pick up the book and quickly check. I would say that my favorite chapter is entitled, well, it's about laughter. And I share a really humorous story about being a mom. And I just love that. I love it. It's short, sweet, and if I hope I would like to think that all moms have this type of memory of one of their children with them because it was one of the most beautiful moments where I was able to really connect with all the young moms that were around me. And so that's my favorite. That's my favorite one for sure. I think the one that's the most important or could be the most powerful for my readers is the chapter where I talk about the ability to be judgment free in a conversation. Um, it's the story that still brings tears to me. Um, and it's a story about the book itself has a few different references to my mom. I'm a daughter. I've got the best mom ever, and she's 90. She's going to be 97 in 2 months. And up until the last few years, we have communicated very well, very close. I'm her baby, but my mom now has Alzheimer's, and so our communication is tough. And this particular story, it was when I was able to let go of all of the judgments that I had around her. And rather than saying, "Oh my God, mom, can't you don't remember? Can you not just be who I need you to be?" Instead of saying that, I was able to just jump into her story without any judgment and say, "Really? That's interesting." Even though I knew my mom is not making any sense. So I think that that's a powerful lesson for everyone is to be able to be present without judgment. And it's tough. I mean, just because it happens once doesn't mean it happens the next time. I still have conversations with her where I'm like, I just put myself on mute and I just pray for peace, for happiness because I'm so frustrated. But all of us can benefit from that skill of being able to forgive ourselves for judging and to forgive the person that we're talking to for the judgments that we've put on them. It's a big one. So I would say that's the most powerful lesson in the book. Yeah.
Yeah, that skill of non-judgment of self and others, you know, because like you said, you're still, you have to work on it. You catch yourself in that. And then sometimes, because when you know better, you do better. When you do catch yourself, you're going, God, why did I, why did I allow myself to go there? And then you start judging yourself. It's like, okay, so that non-judgmental skill is a very, very powerful thing. Yes, definitely. Which also brings me to because we're just speaking about that you do catch yourself during this, is of all the tools that you offer to support, you know, the insights that you share in this book, what is perhaps one that you use on a regular basis? You know, because some people they write a book, they get it out, and okay, everybody deal with it. I've got it down, you know. But what is one that you carry with you on a daily basis that helps you continue to live your best life?
So first off, can I just say I do not have it down. I don't have it down. I have to, but it's a great question. And when I realize that I don't have it, I remind myself that I am a spiritual being having a human existence, and as such, I'm going to have those emotions of despair, failure, annoyance, judgment. You know, all of those, that spectrum that makes us human. But then I flip right away into asking myself, okay, why did this come up? So that's the biggest tool. I'm constantly asking myself, why did I bring this up today? Why is this happening? And then I just work through the clarity session of really understanding why it came up. And sometimes, you know, the best case scenario is that I think it and figure it out within a second, right? So it's when it gets quicker that I can figure out the, you know, when I can get to the understanding. The fastest I can get there is great, but it doesn't always. Sometimes I sit with it for like a day, and I'm always just ruminating, going, but why did I let it bother me? What's the trigger? And it may be the time of day. It may be a muscle memory to an argument I had with my husband. It may be a memory of a trauma in my family. Like, who knows? But I have learned to love the questions and not be afraid of them. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I share with my clients is don't be afraid of asking tough questions, right? That's actually it's a joy to get there
It's
because
fascinating. The awe and the
yeah,
wonder of digging a little deeper and finding the treasures. I'm a very contemplative person, so I enjoy the journey of the wise. You know,
I think many of the people that I support, number one, they don't know how to ask those types of questions. They're just not familiar with it. They're used to just doing and not sort of thinking things through. But not only that, they have spent a lifetime of feeling and holding on to certain things that they are just not used to feeling any differently. So, you know, one of the things that I really share with my clients and friends and such is life is a journey. Okay. It's okay that you feel this way. It's okay to feel these feelings. I'm just going to invite you not to live there because there's another way to feel. And with my help, you can see that other way and get used to that so that you're no longer scared to ask those questions, so that you don't automatically beat yourself up when you growl at your kids, so that you don't automatically feel terrible when you don't get the raise that you wanted, or whatever. We beat ourselves up so much in life. I really hope that I can empower women to stop that. We don't need to beat ourselves up. The world can do enough of that for us. We don't need to do it ourselves, right?
absolutely. Yeah, we deserve. We are worthy. We are more powerful uh, than we give ourselves credit for, because this is what we've been exposed to. It's, you know, if we can step out of that energy and step into our true energy, then our choices are made from a place of passion and desire and hopefulness, you know. Um, so I loved that. See, we have more in common than you realize. I love that you shared personal experiences. Your story, your life is in this book.
Mm.
You know, in each chapter, there is an aspect of your personal journey. And I feel as if the world has gotten so fast paced and digital, and answers are immediate. I'll just Google it, get the answers. But allowing yourself to walk through stories. This is, this for me is how the original teaching took place was through stories, parables,
Mm.
the sharing of wisdom through the understanding of someone who has experienced things. So, in your stories, how do you feel each particular, because there's a different story in each chapter. So, how do you feel your personal journey have, um, can support those particular lessons in that chapter? Like, what is the value for you? I know what the value is for me in regards to sharing of personal stories because in my book I've done just that, right? So, for you, what is the value behind basing a story that is relatable, is real life, with the lessons that you're teaching? That combination.
Well, the first thing I want to share is how when I left the corporate world, I began to write. I've always loved writing, and I just started to write. And I was writing a blog because I went online and thought maybe I can earn money as a blogger, right? I'll write. Oh, I can write. I'll blog. So I started blogging, and I never knew what I was going to blog about. So I would just pray. I'd just say, oh, and I would just sort of trust that whatever I needed to write about would come to me, right? At that time, I didn't use the term praying. It was just like, I'm just going to ask the universe for help. I know, same thing, right? But in my world, that's how I phrased it. And I would write about whatever. A year later, I had about 12 blogs written, let's say. A year later, my business coach said, hey, why don't you take one of your blogs and turn it into like a lead generation, like you give it away, give the story away to people, just as something to give away to get, whatever, create leads. And as soon as she said that, I went, nope, I'm going to write a book. And she's like, I didn't say write a book. I said, take your article and give it away to people. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to write a book. And I really believe that I was, listening to my angels. And what happened was I went back and looked over all the things that I'd written in the last year. And I realized that there was a lesson in almost every single one of them. And then because of the studying that I'm doing, I'm just finished up my certification course in coaching, and I'm on year 2 of another life course, understanding the laws of the universe. But because of all of the stuff that I've been learning, I realized that wow, this lesson was look, I wow, that's oh my God, that really shows this. That really shows that. And as I had I had 7 stories written, and I was getting ready to publish the book when I had this epiphany with my mom, and I wrote about it. And I'm like, okay, this judgment-free one's going to jump in the book. Book's not over yet. And so what it's done for me is, number one, I realize I'm not alone, and that's huge, right? I'm a middle class girl struggling to be, healthy, struggling to be a good mom, and struggling to deal with her mother. I'm like you. I'm like everyone else. I may look a little different. I may live in a bigger house or a smaller house, colder climate, warmer climate, doesn't matter. I am part of the whole. And if I've experienced this, maybe someone else has too. So to me, it was a coming of age to the realization that I am part of one. And I don't mean to get too wacky doodle here, but that's just how I felt. That's just how I felt.
I love that. We truly are all connected.
Yeah.
We truly are, and what your strengths are also my strengths. Your vulnerabilities are also my vulnerabilities, and I love that how you put that into words. And the bottom line is, I'm just like you, and we are all both student and teacher. You know, we step into that energy as we are meant to, in the ways that we are meant to. And I just want to thank you for answering your call in regards to say, no, I'm not going to give this away. This is meant for something bigger, and then allowing yourself to say, I have this all set, it's ready to go. And then Nope, another chapter pops in. You know, this is an important chapter. But you listened and you made the choices. You could have said, "Nope, I'm not doing it." But you made those choices for your life. You said you were in the corporate world for how long were you in the corporate
Over 10
scene?
years.
For 10 years, and um, now you're into your own entrepreneurship, your what is it, the Phoenix Empowerment Center. The You are
Well,
contributing, author in a magazine. You're just living your best life right now from the choices. And how do you feel you as a person differ from the corporate you to this best life you? What is You could just put that into words.
the corporate me was afraid deep down because I had bought into this idea that in order to feel worthwhile, I needed to contribute a certain dollar figure to the household, for example. I needed to show up. I needed to get the promotion. I needed to, be the best, make, all of these things that I felt I needed to do. I was looking for outside validation because I was afraid of going inside and giving it to myself. So, Dr. Wayne Dyer was talking in one of his books, mentioning that a non spiritual being will look for things on the outside to fulfill them, and a spiritual being looks for things on the inside. Right. So I feel that the biggest difference was my relationship to myself. I was ignoring my relationship when I was a corporate being. And I mean, I was happy, but all of a sudden I wasn't. And I realized it's because the blinders were taken off. And I thought, that is not important to me. My daughter's important to me. Communication with my husband's important to me. Being able to walk the dogs when I feel like it is important to me. Being able to be home and cook a meal is important to me. So it really, I mean, both women are are and were optimistic and funny and had friends, but the new me is definitely more connected to the inner butterfly. I write about it in my program that every woman has an inner butterfly. And as we peel away the layers and ask all of these great questions about ourselves, we get closer to her and to that butterfly, and we really shine. I'm that butterfly now, or phoenix, but I use the word butterfly in my writing. And so I'm the same person, but I'm more connected with the inner me. Yeah, I don't really care what other people out there think. I mean, I want to be successful, obviously. I want to make a difference. But my mantra 10 years ago was just about making money. Or, I want to do really well and make lots of money for my family. And my mantra today is I want to make a difference in the world. So,
I
yeah.
love that. I love that, and I love the bringing in that the butterfly. And because when you think about the butterfly in the cocoon, it's a
Mhm.
slow process. Enjoy the journey. Don't rush it. Um, there are you're about. I'm in my 50s. Late 50s. Nikki, stop laughing in the background. I One of my tricks is I don't care how old I am. I know I'm in my 50s. Okay, I literally never remember how old I am. I just am present. I'm in the moment. This is where I'm at. Um, and I work a lot with the inner child. So there's a lot of joy that comes with, I'm just a package deal. So there's a lot of joy that comes with me because I bring in that inner child as well as the adult that helps set healthy boundaries for the inner child, at the same time. Um, I have two grandsons. They're twin boys that will be 1 year old on the 29th. Knowing what you know now, what would your advice be to them if they could read your words as soon as they can start reading. I've already sent them a bunch of books. So they're going to be readers. But what would you say to a child that would help them find their butterfly sooner than we did?
Hmm. That's a great question. I when I raised I have two children, they're 24 and 19, and when I put them to bed, almost every night, I would tell them that they are children of the universe, and I would ask them what they want to dream about. And I think what I would tell a little child is your dreams matter, never let them go.
Now reverse it. Our audience here ranges, I would say the average range is between 34 to 65 plus. I've got a range, okay? What would those same words be the words that you would speak to them?
I may change it slightly only because many of my clients and friends they've forgotten how to dream. And sometimes we have to go back and do some kid-like things. And children they're right there, right? You know what? A child has the imagination. When they say they're an astronaut, they're an astronaut. Like, you get out of the way. They're walking on the moon. So, but really, what I say to most women that I meet when it comes up in conversation is, your past does not define you, and you have a choice. You always have a choice. So regardless of what has happened, you can choose the future. Right? So, because by the time you're in your 30s or even earlier than that, we have a past, and we think, so many of us think, I can never do that. Oh, I can't do that because this happened. So I think it's important that we all understand that it doesn't matter at all what happened. It does not matter what's happened in the past. The past is in the past. Leave it there. The future hasn't happened yet. Don't go there.
I'm I'm gonna just tweak that a little bit. I believe, and love to hear your opinion on that. Is I believe that our past, our life happening is happening for us, not to us,
Hmm.
and has been preparing us to answer our call today. It's it's when we look at our past as a burden rather than the blessing, you know, that we feel that it can hinder our answering of our call. Whereas I feel as though our life experience is our soul preparing us to answer our call of today and our dreams of tomorrow. You know,
Yeah, I
um,
agree 100%. The challenge is that before we get to the place where we can say, my life happens for me, there is a period where it's like, I wasn't there yet. It was like, but, evidence to the contrary, my friend. Like the first time I heard Deepak Chopra speak, I was like, yeah, whatever. That doesn't even relate to me. There's no way I can get that's my past has told me that this is the direction I'm going in. So there is a time when we we haven't seen the light yet. But I 100% agree with you. Life happens for us. But when I choose to sit in my pain or my anger or my fear,
mhm.
I have to remind myself that I don't have to sit there. I had a lesson, I had a difficult time, and I've learned from it. Don't forget that I've learned from it. Mahara, don't forget you learned the lesson already. Right? That's not who you are, that's what you did. Yes, I did
Very
that,
yes,
but it's not who I am.
yes.
I will never forget my mom. I don't think I wrote about it in the book, but I have written about it. One of the first and only times my mom spanked me. Oh my God. I stuck my tongue out at her. Oh, I did. I have written about it, but it's not in the book. I was a little girl. I was misbehaving and I stuck my tongue out at her, and she picked me up and walloped me on my backside, and I was so shocked. And I must have been about, I'm guessing 3 or 4. I was walking beside her, got a paddle, and she was as shocked as I was. I couldn't believe that I'd gotten a spanking. And she marched me to my room, and away I went. Um, but my mom said that she's spoken to me about that and said, "I can't believe I hit you. I still think about that." This is like 50 years later. Well, 40 years later, when she first started talking to me about it. And she said, "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "Mom, that's just something you did. It's not who you were. It was an action, but you're not a bad mom. You just, flipped in that moment, and you gave me a paddling. It wasn't even it wasn't even, but it was interesting that it's something she held on to with such regret and such guilt. And now that I'm where I'm at, first of all, I have kids. I totally understand. Oh, do I understand wanting to, but I realize that we are not our actions if we don't want to be. It's just an action.
Thank you for clarifying
Yeah.
and getting more in depth with that, um, because that is uh, speaking to the audience that we have today viewing live. This is, they know that this is how I walk.
Hmm.
I really believe that um, everything that we go through is divinely planned. How we see it in the moment and what we choose to hold on to is our choice. You know, so I would ask, with that frame of mind, where you're at today and where you see yourself heading tomorrow. What was it in your past that helped prepare you to be a motivational speaker, to become this coach, to really, there, you don't just wake up one day and say, I'm being called to do this without something in your past. There's a trail of this is who you are innately. So there's something in there that, you were either a child that was not afraid to stand up in class and read their essay. And so there was little steps that were taken that helped build you where you are today. Is there anything that really stands out in your past that says, yes, I could see this forming what I am now?
Two things pop into my mind. One of them has been, um, has really been a block, and one of them has been sort of the opposite. So I recall when I was little, I'm the youngest of four, and I recall talking nonstop as the youngest in the family, never stopped talking. And I was just a happy child. And I remember my older siblings telling me to, please, for the love of God, shut up. Don't you ever shut up. So there's a part of me that clamped down and was embarrassed to talk if I felt it was too much. So that has come up multiple times as an opportunity for growth. But the flip side is that I was always the entertainer. I was always the one to bridge the gap between this group and that group. In high school, for example, I was um, friends with the nerds because I was smart, and I was friends with the in crowd because I was pretty. Truthfully, I think that's the reason why they liked me. I don't think it had anything to do with me. They just liked the way I looked. Can I be totally honest here? So I was always the one bridging the gap. I was sort of friends with everyone and always wanted to make everyone like each other and sort of be like the life of the party. So I did spend a few years as an entertainer and really developed a sense of humor, which I think is necessary if you're going to try and make money as an entertainer. So by the time I decided and sort of knew and was daydreaming about being on stage as a motivational speaker, I was already very comfortable on stage as an entertainer. So it didn't frighten me at all. If someone said, Mahara, can you go talk to these 100 people? I'd say, sure. Like it just wouldn't, just because I'd been doing it, right? I did drama in grade school and in high school, and then I took theater in in college, and then I did it for a living. So I think that definitely helped pave the way for me to want to communicate. And any angst that I feel now about what I do, I remember, my brothers and sisters telling me to be quiet. And now I can say, I have so much to say, I actually put it on Amazon, right? And all joking aside, I don't even know if they remember saying that to me, because I'm in my late 50s. They're all older than me. I'm sure that didn't mean anything to them, but it was something that I hung on to. And to this day, if somebody shushes me, well, I don't lose my, what anymore, because I'm much more centered. But I'm definitely going, whoa, that's not acceptable. Yeah, you don't get to shush me. You don't get to shush me.
I love that. That is a very, it's a way to honor that form of communication when you are not only aware of um, what you are saying, but you're also aware of how people are responding to it. So when you get that shh, or when they try to cut you off before you're complete,
Yeah.
you're aware of this. But now you're in a place where, like you said, you're more centered, and then it's okay. Why did this just happen? Then you start going into that questioning thing. But when it comes to communication and being a coach and a motivational speaker and being up there on stage when you need to, and but also in that one-on-one or in those private groups, you know, um, what do you feel is the most valuable tool in active listening? I feel like communication is not just how we say things, the speech that we use, but it's also what are we listening for when we're listening to someone.
That's a really good question. I think one of the most important things, and I had to work at it at first, but now I feel it comes more naturally, is whether it's in a group on a Zoom or in my home or when I'm out with friends, it's being able to create a space that feels good, so that the energy is, so that people feel safe and that they want to be there. And this is, I don't know if I'm going to do this experience justice, but, and it seems like a throwaway phrase, or create a safe space. What does that mean? And I don't mean safe, but if people don't feel genuine energy coming from me, then I cannot expect genuine to come from them. So I believe truly that we have to live it, to be it, and to expect it and bring it out of others. So I think being true to yourself is such an important aspect of facilitating a great conversation. Even if what yourself is feeling is jittery, just going, wow, what? I'm feeling a little nervous today. Oh my goodness. Like, wow, this is really interesting. Um, I'm not sure if I answered your question, but I do think honesty, being honestly, and just being true to who you are at in the moment, not trying to fake it or pretend to be someone else, because people see right through that, right?
Yeah, authenticity.
Yeah.
Authenticity. You are really being authentic in your communication, in your listening, and in who you are in the moment. You're actually allowing yourself to be with the other person.
Mhm.
Mhm. So I think that in itself creates that sacred space.
Yeah.
That space, that energy, because when you become aware of your own senses and you realize you can sense when someone's not being authentic, and automatically you feel that there is a lack of openness
Or
coming from the person.
or there's an
And
agenda, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, we don't want that, right?
We
I
don't
mean,
want that.
so you feel it. And if when you become aware of the fact that you can feel it, you also become aware of the fact that they can feel you too.
Mhm.
This is a two-way street here. And it's like I say, when you know better, you do better. And when you know yourself and what you're experiencing and what energy you're putting out there, I think um, for me, if I'm not into it, I step out of it
Mhm.
because then I'm not there,
Mhm.
and then what does that accomplish for either one of us? You know, if we're going to step into the energy, then it should be something that we look forward to and we can be ourselves and really make the best of it. So,
Yeah.
but um, I noticed that when you were in the writers community, your title is not your name. You go by mindfulness with Mahara. Okay.
Yes, that's my business name. And I guess when I signed up to the writing group, I happened to be in my business Facebook page. That's how it came about. I'm see, I'm still learning about Facebook because depending on which page I'm in, if I'm on my business page, if I comment on things, I come up as my business name. If I'm in my personal page, then and I comment, I come up as myself. So yes, when we met, it was under my business name, which is Mindfulness with Mahara.
And which leads me to my next question. I told you I don't make an agenda in regards to what my questions are, but what is your definition of mindfulness?
Oh, such a good question. When I was young, I would think that in order for me to be mindful, I would have to sit in a lotus position in the quiet and meditate for an hour. And I remember saying that to my father, who introduced me to meditation when I was 19. And he looked at me and he said, "Don't be ridiculous, sweetheart. First of all, that's not, you don't have to do that. What are you even talking about?" And so he went on, I can't remember what else he said about it. But now that I'm all a big grown up girl and I've gone through a lot of stuff, being mindful to me is being present and judgment free. And when I wrote in my course, I really make it, I liken it to the senses. So, you know, as a way, as a study in becoming more mindful, to take one of the senses, and let's say it's the sense of taste, smell, smell, to really just focus in on that and to experience it without judgment. So, wow, that smells like bananas. Jesus, I hate bananas. That's a judgment. Take that out. Let's just smell the banana, right? So, I mean, it's a process. But for me, being mindful is being centered.
I
It's just
love that.
totally being centered.
I knew there was going to be a great answer behind it because anytime you have something that you own, you put out there in the universe, it is a part of who you are. So the answers were always going to be very powerful, and make a statement that is a reflection of you. Yeah. So I love that. So be mindful, you guys.
Not easy to do. We have become trained, I think, to, especially with social media, to mimic what the online, what's the online group saying, rather than saying, wow, this is how I really feel. Or, you know what? I actually love the smell of bananas. Like, I don't have a problem with bananas. Or, hey, I really take offense at that. I don't want to be around that. Right.
Mhm.
So it is an ever evolving journey. Believe me, the conversations that I have, it's never ending. Oh my God, Mahara, why did you say that? Why didn't I say it? Why did you do it this way? Oh my God, would you just be quiet? Okay, I need to go to sleep now. I mean, it's nonstop. So my mindfulness practices have really helped me to kind of just calm down and remind myself what's important. And I will say 100% it has affected my relationship with my husband in a good way. The more mindful I became of my language, and I talk about it in the book, the power of language. But the more mindful I became of what I was saying, the more the more I understood what my husband was hearing.
Mm.
So there were times when, we'd start bickering about something. And now, because I'm more mindful, I'm like, okay, wait a second, back up. Honey, I'm sorry. I think what I said to you upset you. Can we start again? And he'd be like, either sometimes he's like, I'm not upset. I'm like, really? You're yelling. You're not upset? Because no, I'm not upset. What are you talking about? So, I mean, I've been married for over 25 years, and we've never had a better line of communication than we do now, because I'm working on listening to me. And if I don't understand something he said, I'll say, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What do you mean you didn't hear it? Honey, can you just, I don't think I heard it. TV's on or whatever. So I've gotten very good at making sure I have clear communication with the people I love, because it was very easy in the past to not have clarity and to get annoyed unnecessarily, because I was placing judgments on conversations that didn't even happen, right?
Right.
You have two things, and then you go off in your mind and you continue the conversation, and then you jump back into it, and the other person is completely lost because you've gone on a tirade and they didn't know about it.
Yeah. If they
So,
could go into your brain when you're in that mode of analyzing everything that was said, come up with your own conclusion, and then bring the energy of that conclusion into the conversation.
oh, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Thanks, Kate. What does Mahara mean? My understanding is there is a Middle Eastern language in which it means to go faster. Mahar is a verb to go fast, to go quickly. Um, but that's all I know. Apparently, Rudyard Kipling's princess was called Princess Mahara in the Jungle Book, in one of the iterations of in one of the originals. That was told to me. I haven't looked it up to see if it's true or not.
Sounds like it's kind of like Imoa in Hawaiian. It's to move forward, to move, you
Hmm,
know, to move forward. I love that. That's beautiful.
thank
Thank
you.
you, Kate, for the question. This is so cool. um, we have a few minutes left, and I'm going to put you on the spot if you don't mind,
No?
like I haven't already all through the show, right? Um, you write and share a lot of tips and a lot of quotes, you know, and I know that you have your team around you supporting you and guiding you in what to share and what to say. With the energy that you're in this moment, what quote would come to your heart that you would share? Not one that you've written, just one that flows.
Hmm. Um, I don't know the entire quote. I used to know it, but I've since forgotten it. But it's Martin Luther King, "I have a dream" speech. I think we all should have a dream to see a better world. So if you don't know that speech or that quote, look it up. I don't know it fully, and I'm sorry, Dr. Martin King. I'm so sorry. I used to know it off by heart. Um, and of course, we said it a few times today, and I love it. Maya Angelou said, "When you know better, do better." So those two come to mind.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Well,
See,
thank you.
you guys, Nikki has been putting the links to her website, to her Instagram, to her link tree, to her new book, again, Essential Insights to Living Your Best Life. You guys can get it on Amazon. Please read it. It's a beautiful book. It's an easy read, but it digs deep, you guys. So allow yourself to have that consistent commitment to your own spiritual growth, your light, your journey, and do it with joy. Do it with joy. Bring in the laughter and some ice cream and some, what is that wine you drink?
Merlot. I drink Merlot.
So, but thank you so much for coming on, you guys. Check out her links, follow her, support her, and hey, take some of her offerings of her quotes and post them on your walls as well, you guys, because she is an inspiration. You are very much a light. Um, you are an example of a phoenix. So thank
Oh,
you for
thank you
being
so much.
on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I was meant to be, I was meant to meet you. I was meant to be on this podcast. And I just feel so blessed to have been exposed to your clients and all of your whole community. Thank you. This was tons of fun.
We'll have to do it again.
Okay. We'll do it when my next book comes out.
So I always say, guys, you know what to throw in the comments. We shine brighter together. So for now, it is aloha from me. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.